It's an annoying goddamn line hearing some people say really dumb stuff publicly.
Where does the line between humans and machines sit with this? What is it that humans can do that machines can't replicate now or in the near future?
Rules can't be put on it because it needs to thrive, it needs to flourish, it needs to grow, and we need to find better ways to do what we're doing.
Hey, it's Ronsley. Welcome, you AI geek, to Amplify AI.
Hi, Ronsley, and welcome to the podcast.
Hey, man. How's it going? How's it going, Matt?
Really, really good.
So I've been a proponent of amplification for a while, and it's really interesting because I find the overlap, and the overlap is I love amplifying people's genius, whether it was podcasting or AI now, which, you know, the two parts of my career have come and joined and had a baby almost with the artificial intelligence. So I feel like they're both amplifiers in a huge way, especially of people's genius. If they've done something and they're the ones that feel like the best kept secrets in their industry, you know, then it feels like these are two elements that will really, really help them.
So you've obviously been, looking at this space for a long time. Are you surprised by the developments of the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I think anyone in any capacity would be surprised at the speed at which it's happened. So it took me 4 years to get a bachelor's of engineering, computer science and engineering. Then it took me another 3 years to get a master's of software engineering, another 2 years to get an MBA. And this is while I was working. The master's were while I was working. But to give you context of when I went to university, this was just a theory. The blockchain was just a theory.
Wow.
You know, we had an idea of what could happen in a decentralized system, but we didn't have fast enough computers. We didn't have, that much data that we could store. Internet was not even fast enough. So there's all these limitations that didn't allow or even allow us to conceptualize this far ahead. However, if you know the curve of adoption, not only adoption, but the curve of how much computing power you can fit into a small inch is an exponential curve. So there's massive improvements that have happened over the last few years. I mean, when the first supercomputer got built, it almost was like someone ran the first 4-minute mile. It just started to, people started to break those barriers, which were thought of as it was impossible almost, just because the hardware could not support the theory. So yes, of course, 100%. It would be stupid not to say that anyone that knew exactly that this was where we're headed. We knew that in theory, but this quickly, I don't think so.
And do you think that this sort of kind of incredible sort of pace of change, this curve, vertical curve we're going up with, is that sustainable? Are we likely to see the same kind of speed of development over the next 5 years?
I think it is sustainable. I think the only thing that doesn't allow it to be sustainable is humans' need for not wanting to change. It's probably the only thing that will
that's interesting.
Yeah, that will come in the way. But in terms of what is possible, if you look at Industrial Revolution and how much we do with machines already, but we don't even remember. We just think it's normal. It's not normal to control the temperature of a room. We just take a lot of these things for granted. Yes, it is sustainable because it's been gradually happening. It's just that we don't notice that it's happening.
Yeah, that's a kind of a stunning point, actually, just in terms of how quickly we take things for granted. I want to dive into the human part of this in a second, because it's sort of really important for our industry and the sort of the conversations that we're having and the technology that we're seeing develop. Before I do, though, I just wanted to get your view on, there is so much hype about Gen AI now and agentic AI and agents and all this kind of stuff. Where's the line between hype and reality? Are things being overhyped? Are people sort of talking about things that are going to be possible in a year's time as if they're possible now? Where's the line of reality currently?
It's an annoying goddamn line, especially for me, hearing some people say really dumb stuff publicly. But it's the bro code of marketing, to fake it till you make it. So I don't know whether that part has changed. I think there's always going to be a bunch of people that will take that and use all these fancy words. Like there are people, I actually watched a really good friend of mine and very well-known entrepreneur put out a post about, we just built 3 agents in the last half an hour. No, you didn't. You built an assistant. If that is a big difference between an assistant and an agent. And so maybe to clarify for people listening, an assistant is someone that you hand over a task to and you say and guide and hold hands with, and you get your solution. An agent is, here's my task, get it done, and it'll find the best way to do it and do it with a checklist and create assistance to help the agent achieve. So it's agentic behavior, it's hands off. So of course there's a hype, yes.
Yeah.
And it's usually the marketers that are making the hype. I think the marketers are on one side making the hype, and then there's the media that's pulling everyone down, and there's somewhere in between is the entrepreneur's way to find their own space in this world. Because this will easily be the biggest conversation of our lifetime. There's no debate on that. It's going to change how we even educate our kids, right? It's changed everything.
I want to shift to talk about this humans, machines, relationship, competition, whatever it is. In recruiting, there is a kind of a real sort of debate at the moment about how much AI should or can do in the recruitment process. And I think that people are perhaps drawing the line in the wrong place. I think that there's a feeling that humans can do some things better that actually we really know computers can. Ultimately, where does the line between humans and machines sit with this? What is it that humans can do that machines can't replicate, or certainly can't replicate now or in the near future?
I don't think there's anything that humans can do that won't be ultimately. I'll tell you why, because I think if you understand how AI has come together, there's a combination of neurology and psychology and physics and chemistry and math and computer science. There's about 8 or 9 different fields that come together to create AI, the field. And, computers are built on us. It has long-term memory. It's got short-term memory, just like us. It's got compute, just like us. It's got neurons firing in certain ways, just like us. So, it's the only reason some of the things are not possible yet is because we've not found a way to articulate what that is. For example, emotional intelligence is probably a new-ish field. And, our parents might not even know what being present might even mean, as an example. These topics have only been able to be expressed now, but over time, we know for a fact certain things we're not good at. We're not good at memory. We're not good at memorization. It would not be smart to go against a computer that is extremely good at memory. So there's certain things right now you can only see that. And when you keep asking about the line, I think we're going to constantly redefine that line. I think that line is going to change. It's going to be very drastic.
I remember cameras on phones seem like the most ridiculous thing that anyone had ever invented.
Right. And it's a whole new version of a human that are being, I suppose, educated to operate in the world in different ways. And I'm talking about schools. I'm talking about through social media and different types of media and parents, and how parenting is even done and how learning is even done. There's so much has just changed, right? And it'll continue to change. So that line is super hard to draw right now for the future.
I agree 100%. And I think that, so how do we sort of move from panic and denial towards sort of opportunity and strategy?
Oh, I love this question for a variety of different reasons. It's in the opening of my book. And in the opening of my book, I talk about, have you heard of Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness?
Oh, maybe, not sure.
So Dr. David Hawkins is, from the 70s, he's done this lot of work in calibrating frequency and consciousness. And he's got the map of consciousness, and it goes from a scale of 0 to 1,000. 20 is guilt and 40 is shame, or one or the other. And then, so it's called power versus force. Force is all the frequencies from 0 to 200. It's all force. From 200 to 1,000 is all power. And at 200 is courage, which is really interesting. I mean, I didn't even think of that until I'm talking to you right now. Everyone's vibrating at a certain frequency. Okay, so if you're vibrating at guilt or shame in the lower 40s and 20s, you'll see a certain event in a certain way. If you are vibrating at reason or courage or anger or love, it doesn't matter, depending on the frequency you're at, you'll see the same act differently. So it could be a simple act as me walking out of this conversation and getting a cup of coffee. Depending on where you're at on that spectrum, you'll see it differently. So I ask you, whoever's listening, that where are you vibrating at? Okay, I would say to you as a human, your only job right now is to make sure that you're moving your vibrations up, because that's something that, unless you replace the hardware of a computer, it's super hard for an artificial intelligence piece to do. So it depends on where you're at. And I'm going to say to you that I'm very hopeful for the future, because I don't feel like being the opposite is useful to where we're going. Okay. Yeah. So there's two ways to look at this. Now, you can either artificial intelligence is learning from us. We know that. We can either be the parent that says, do as I say, or we can be the parent that says, do as I do. If we keep going down this path of someone has to lose for me to win, then we're not headed down the right path in this AI race at all. But if we go down the path of this collaborative nature here, there's enough for everyone. There's abundance. There's let's all connect. Let's not divide over all these differences. Let's, do the courageous thing. There's a lot of hope for what we can do. Then becomes the augmentation of intelligence, the thing that we crave, which is autonomy and freedom to do what we want to do when we want to do it, is totally possible. Because I do feel like AI can solve some of the world's biggest problems. What it comes down to is whether the humans in power will allow that to happen. So there's so many elements here that are at play. And that's why having an open source anything in AI is the way forward. It can't be closed. It can't be policed. It can't be, rules can't be put on it, because it needs to thrive. It needs to flourish. It needs to grow. And we need to find better ways to do what we're doing.
No, absolutely. I think that finding better ways to do what we're doing is the real sort of core of this, because I think people are kind of protecting ways of working and institutions and things like that don't actually do the best job of what they could do. So let's talk a little bit more tactically. What is it that people can be doing right now to kind of really get up to speed with what's possible, to educate themselves? How should people be experimenting? What kind of mindset is there? What do we all need to be doing?
That's a very big question. I think just learning, just taking responsibility of the fact that, this is a new skill that you might not have. And just because you get a response out of ChatGPT or any AI doesn't mean it's the right response. So there's an element of knowing what you're doing and how you're asking. In business or in general, there's this value alignment gap that we all have, in the sense that it's hard for us to express exactly what's in our brain in words. So that's why the delegation piece becomes hard, especially, recruitment, someone comes on for the first time. That's why there's an onboarding process. That's why there's some training involved to get them up to speed with the lingo and how things operate in the new business. So I feel like there's an element of having to learn these new skills. And then one of the easiest skills to learn is logic, is how does a computer operate? What is required for the computer to do its best work? What is not common sense? What is common sense? What is explicitly required to be mentioned? What is not? How does the computer operate in terms of the process that you're asking of it? So there's all these different elements that I feel is being missed, because people are selling prompt packs just to make a quick buck. And the copy and paste prompts will work, but you just don't know what's happening. You just don't know why it's working. And sometimes they don't even work. It's probably a prompt pack that they've put through another AI and just sold it to you. Being more responsible of how this works and where it works is probably the first thing. The second thing is not necessarily to look at the new AI tools or the new AI news that's coming out all the time, but to build on whatever value piece you bring to the table. So if you've already spent, I think most people, you talk about the panic earlier, Matt, and the panic comes from, oh, I've spent 20 years of my life doing this. What if it goes away?
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than, oh, I've spent 20 years of my life doing this. I know more about this. And if I augment that 20 years that I have of experience with this artificial silicon-based intelligence, I could potentially be untouchable.
I'll always be much better than machines. And it was just refreshing to have those kind of, it's just brilliant to have those kind of conversations. And change happens. I have a friend who owns a farm, and I think he inherited, it's a family farm. When he was young, there were 10 people working on the farm. Then there were 5 people working on the farm. Now it's pretty much just him, because the tractors kind of plot their own route, and he can, with a bit of freelance help, for want of another word, he can run the farm by himself. And that's technology. The evidence is out there for people. The evidence is out there for people to see, 100%. Just to, I suppose, maybe just to give people a little bit of a kickstart, because I think there are lots of people who are just kind of stuck with ChatGPT, and that's the whole world of AI for them. What are some of the sort of favorite tools that you use, or what are things that people could play around with and get some value from really quickly?
I just did a training for my group last week about how we used to have multiple ChatGPT accounts, including the Pro $200 ones. And we've gotten slowly just waned off ChatGPT, and we're all on the free version of ChatGPT right now. So, it's interesting how we've gone from ChatGPT Plus, and we have multiple Plus accounts, and then we got a couple of Pro accounts. And then when actually there are other AIs that can do us the job, and we don't need all these ChatGPT accounts. Yeah, because there are different types of businesses. When you think about the 3 main elements of a business is attract, convert, and deliver. The businesses that are really good at attract, there's businesses really good at convert, and there's businesses that are really good at deliver. And they have to learn the other bits, but some of them are really good. So I think OpenAI is really good at attract, and they've done a great job. I don't think they're profitable, and there's a huge rumor out about whether they are actually profitable with how they've been operating so far. But I'm just trying to say that there's so many other tools that you should look at, and not only look at the tools, but look at how you talk to the tools. Because if you know how to talk to the tools, then you yourself can gauge whether that tool is good for you. Like, I know that if I use a certain tool, I know, okay, well, I'm not getting the result I want because I know that my conversation too is correct. So I don't have to debate whether this tool is good or not. So I think that's the first piece. Understand how you can communicate. The next is there's so many. Anthropic by Claude by Anthropic is probably one of my favorites right now. Gemini by Google, easily pushing some boundaries, especially with, I think their video is very good, and Notebook LM with podcasting also is extremely good. There's sort of elements there that are really good that Google do that ChatGPT doesn't, or even Claude doesn't. In terms of context size, the amount of data that Google is able to handle is way more than its nearest competitor by a long shot. So in that respect, Gemini is a pro account worth having. So we've got Claude, we've got Gemini, we use Perplexity. We think that is a really good one, especially with deep research. Grok is pretty good by Twitter because it's uncensored. So for example, my dad recently went through an angiogram and got an angioplasty, and we were trying to decipher his reports. ChatGPT wouldn't, but Grok did, which was useful. Okay. At the time, it was useful because that's exactly what happened. I actually don't know where the line is with uncensorship. I don't feel qualified enough to talk about that in terms of AI, but I do feel that data is super important. So the amount of the data that the AI is trained on, or the context that you give the AI, is a huge piece of the results you're going to get. So there's different things. And I think what the key for everyone listening is, what is your use case? So right now, I would ask you to first go and make a list of the 10 activities you do most often in the week. Just make a list of what they are, and then find out what process you use to get there, and then see in that process if you can augment that with AI. And that will be way more productive for anyone listening than any tool I give you right now.
Fantastic. Ronsley, thank you very much for talking to me.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Matt.
Hey, AI Geek. Thanks for listening. Your job doesn't stop here. I want you to lend your voice to the conversation. So you can join those conversations, discussions, new trainings, new recordings, and the rest of the AI Geeks by going to amplifyais.com. Also, share this podcast with a friend, another potential AI geek. Until then, much love.